Alec, guess what?
I have no idea why you pulled me in here.
That's right. We're gonna have you do a challenge, actually, a 1 hour challenge. So we're gonna actually have you put together something. It's gonna be separated by 3 different prompts. You're gonna have a random user,
Okay.
a random product, and a random constraint. And with those 3 random things, you're going to produce a final prototype.
A prototype?
That's right.
For 1 hour.
That's right. We'll have you ideate for the first hour, and then we'll take the good time to actually make the prototype afterwards.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I feel like I'm still in the school mindset and going fast and going quick with these design sprint kind of exercises, so I've got this. I'm pretty confident in my ability to do this, except if it's something just crazy. There's some product categories that I haven't touched, so if it's something that I have to draw like a hand or something, like that's gonna be hard for me.
I guess we can have you start drawing the first item. Let us have you draw for your first random product.
Okay.
Let's go.
This one matters. This is the one. This is the big money, no whammy moment. Tell me when one flies out. Gaming controller. I'm really stoked about this. I was trying to hold my poker face. This is sick. Oh my gosh, this could be anything. This could be a Switch, this could be Xbox, this could be the Power Glove. This could be whatever you want. Okay, sick. I'm ready for the next one.
Next one. We're gonna have you draw for your random user. Who is the client? Who is asking for the game controller?
Okay.
All right, let's see.
That was pretty cool. Astronaut. I have a million ideas. And I hope the constraint doesn't make it like 5 ideas. That could be the case. A gaming controller for an astronaut. Oh my gosh, if I gave a junior class in college and an industrial design class this prompt, it would go crazy. It would go ballistic.
All right, next, we'll have you draw for the constraint. What is the limiter?
Okay.
This is the thing that will carry across. Let's do it.
I'm thinking hard here. I should stop thinking and just grab one of these. Okay. It's upside down. 8 bits. How thematic. This is gonna be perfect. This is gonna go right with the gaming controller vibe. I think there's gonna be a lot that we can do with this. I'm glad that it's not super constraining. Like if it said something crazy, like covered in slime, like I don't know if I would be able to do that. That would just be gross. But an 8-bit gaming controller for an astronaut is what we're gonna do. I have a couple of ideas, and I think I know how I want to go about it. I'm gonna do some really loose sketches. The proportion is gonna be quite off because I'm gonna go quick, but we're gonna take those, we're gonna throw them into Viscom, Gemini, GPT, and then we'll see what we get.
All right, Alex, so we're gonna get this challenge started. You only have 1 hour. We're gonna have it right here on the side for you to see, to make sure you know how much time you have left. Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
All right, so your timer starts now. Let's do it.
The main problem I'm having in my head here is keeping something ergonomic and 8-bit at the same time, because those are kind of contrasting ideas. 8-bit wants to be extremely blocky, and then ergonomic obviously wants to conform to the shape of a hand, which is extremely organic. So that's going to be a bit of a point of concern here. There's things that we can do to resolve this, of course. We can keep the 8-bit kind of vibe a little bit more graphic, or we can find some other way. But I'm just going to start with some very initial, like, blocky kind of controller sketches to see where we can get with that very surface level idea. The only way that you can get past those surface level ideas is to put them on paper and then look at them and kind of see what you like, what you don't like, and then go from there. I've also sketched a very blocky controller before, so I'm almost re-sketching something from my memory that I did for, like, actually it's in our promotional video. You may or may not actually see that in our Hatch Duo promotional video, but there is a little tiny segment in there where I talk about, we sand down a piece of yellow foam to the shape of this controller, and then we don't ever show it again. So what if the 8-bit came from not being 8-bit and I just ignore it? I'm not gonna do that, but I can't really right now think of other ways to do 8-bit other than having a very blocky controller. And then we'll have a row of buttons here, 1, 2, 3, and it'll plug in right here. And then we'll have an overmolded silicone grip right here. With this, I was thinking that the 8-bit would kind of come in like we would have like grids like this. Wait, gaming astronaut. I'm completely forgetting that it's for astronauts. Okay, I think a way that we can go about this is literally just ask Gemini, what does an 8-bit gaming controller look like if it was designed for an astronaut? So let's type that in. It might not understand when I say 8-bit gaming controller, which I'm okay with because that's my own narrow way of thinking about it. I think there's a lot more adventurous ways that you can answer this. Okay, so yeah, it basically just took the NES layout and it turned it into it being very astronaut-like. Yeah, so this is already kind of wild. I think we're getting gaming controller for sure. We're getting some astronaut right here. Like, I think somehow this is the best one, mostly because it feels like that astronaut, like kind of engineered aerospace kind of grade materials, but then you have like a joystick and a D-pad. But then the 8-bit isn't coming through. How do you do the 8-bit? Let's tackle the gaming controller and let's tackle the astronaut and make sure that we have these squared away. And let's kind of keep the thought of 8-bit like going and in the background, but we need to really secure these two and make sure that we're thinking about that properly. I'm latching on to the kind of brackets on either side as your handles, and then you being able to, like a yoke, like a steering yoke from like F1 almost, or any other racing sim, driving race cars. Here's a new set of iterations. This is feeling Game Boy-ish. This is game console. So it's adding a screen on here, which is not what we're looking for.
Why do you think this client asked for these things?
Well, if you're gonna be in space, you're gonna wanna be able to entertain yourself. I think that's probably one of the scariest things about going to space would be isolation. I think we've seen a lot of movies about that, like The Martian. I actually haven't seen Project Hail Mary, but pretty sure it has that theme in there. Space is definitely one of those thoughts and ideas that tends to get people in their own head. And it would be nice to have something like a video game where you can virtually escape and kind of feel like you're in this own little world. And I imagine that that's why they had asked for it. Assuming that someone actually comes to us, Hatch Duo, and would be wanting to find or create the gaming controller, and they're an astronaut or NASA or SpaceX. I guess I should go with kind of the motif of these squares, so I'm just gonna continue doing squares and not anything round for the sake of keeping it 8-bit. I think our D-pad, or maybe this is a set of buttons that goes right here. I know this is a little bit out of perspective, but I tend to keep my stuff fairly dramatic and wide FOV. I guess this can literally just be like lines that are like raised bumps. I'm going way too overboard on sketching this, but sometimes you just have to have fun and enjoy the ritual of sketching, so. The other thing that over-sketching might actually help with is going into VisCom. So when it understands like the values of each side, so like this is shaded, this is light. I didn't do my 2 value, I didn't do a 3 value, I guess. There's only 1 and 2. But you can get an idea for how the product feels in 3 dimensions. So this is actually gonna help us when we go into VisCom. Okay. So I went really 8-bit with the actual like style, which I tried being specific about changing the design language and not so much like the whole style, but it like knows what I was going for. Like it knows that the square that I drew on the back right here is just a battery pack, and like it knew that. It also knows what a controller looks like, so it's not like it's dumb. It's really smart. I don't want to have NASA on it. I don't want to put any branding on it. Don't put branding on it. Okay, like this is actually closer because it feels like the background isn't 8-bit. Like it doesn't feel like it's from a video game like these guys. So don't put branding on it apparently was enough verbiage to adjust that. So I'm at 30 minutes. We're gonna lock in and we're gonna see if we can actually get some iterations of this current one in Viscom, and then from there, I don't know. I think I'm gonna have to curate some really good like website ready renders. So we'll curate some really good photos, and by the end, I'll get you 6. How's 6? Yeah, like 6 really good, really cool photos to show this off. But yeah, looks like we're 30 minutes in, 30 minutes left. Thought. If it's for an astronaut, what makes it for an astronaut other than just the looks of it and the vibe? Because that's what the 8-bit is kind of doing as well. My thought is 0 gravity, so there has to be some bracket on top or something that you can then like latch something to so that it doesn't like float off, right? That's the main thing I can think of. Other than that, probably gonna add some exposed screws so that you can access internals when you rage quit and you throw your controller and you break it and you're like, oh no, but I wanna play more Tetris and I just smashed my controller. So you take it apart and you fix it. That's just a thought I'm having, so let's apply those 2 things. I'll try and do it while talking. I get a little bit distracted while I'm talking, like I wanna do this and talk to you guys, but that means I'm not doing this and doing the design thing, so. The first thing is that I want it to look better, so please re-render this with high resolution photorealistic quality. Okay, so we're gonna get some here, and then we can look at this and consider having a tiny screen is fine, that's okay. Triggers on top, fine. If this was a controller, it'd be about maybe A big. And that feels generally comfortable. The 8-bit aspect, I think, is just gonna be driven through that tiny screen and the buttons. The fact that it has to fit your hands and be ergonomic is going to drive a lot of the rest of this. I think I like this diamond grip better than why did I like this one? Oh, because it had the little arrows here. I'm not partial to it. The color blows. The color blows, that's another thing. And we can do that quick before we go into details. Make the hand grips continuous. Add deboss 8-bit arrows to the D-pad. I'm just telling it to add the bracket on top so it doesn't float away. I think this is a really cool one because we have the clear triggers on top and we have the 8-bit little arrows. I think we want a realistic part line here, not just like a deboss. And then the grip became continuous, but it wasn't the pattern that became continuous. So let's take this one, and then we're going to use the last line of this, which was basically add the thing on top so it doesn't float away. We'll generate those while we consider sure you can. I'm nervous tapping. It says NASA and SpaceX on the glove. It's like you did both of them. I think that's so funny. I didn't ask it to do that. Shout out neither of them. Like, we're not sponsoring them. Yeah, this, like, Viscom not working in the last 5 minutes really is not helping.
So we can at least wait further.
Okay, then does that mean I can set up a bunch of these?
You can set up, we can at least let you do that. Looks like time's up.
Okay, I submitted like 3 new prompts, so I don't know. I like the design, don't get me wrong. I'm just, Viscom wasn't working at the end there, which happens. Can't get really upset at it, but reality is reality, and we will see when these generate, what they look like, and I'm gonna give myself like 2 minutes to put them in an organized space so that I can show you guys. You'll give me that, right?
Yeah, well,
Okay.
at least make it presentable.
Okay, cool. And we'll show you that right now.
All right, Alex, so let's see what you made in the 1 hour we gave you.
You guys saw this initial sketch that I did, like right here. Got it on screen as well. Was going for something very blocky to kind of go with that 8-bit feel, and then also going with something that felt rugged because we wanted it for an astronaut. So early stuff had like these weird handles, and then once we had thrown this in Viscom, did some iteration, and this is what we came up with. So over here we have our final controller. This is our hero shot. Let me give you a little bit of a breakdown on my choices here. So just go left to right. These grips are textured grips that reflect the kind of like solar aerospace grade reflective material that they would have on spacesuits, and that's why I have this as the grip, along with this like detail that feels very 8-bit. And then as well as here, we have like you can barely tell, but it's like 8-bit DBoss feeling kind of arrows. And then it is a D-pad because most 8-bit games are gonna be basically 2 axes, so you can go up and down and then left and right. And then clear trigger here to kind of tap into the 8-bit kind of Y2K. I know that 8-bit's for that time, but clear plastics were still something that were evocative at the time. And then we have hardware exposed here, as well as part lines to make sure that when you smash this against a wall, you can at least open it up and resolder something. Because you're an astronaut, and if that happens while you're out in space, you're gonna wanna be able to fix it. We have power indicator here, tiny little screen, start, stop button, your regular A, B, X, Y buttons, and that's the choices, that's the controller. But we've got some fun photos. So this is a context photo. When it's on, just in its neutral state, you've got this active kind of thing, and then maybe a voice recognition or something. And then this is some CMF options. These are, I think I like this middle one. These two are, that's a little bit much for me. It's too much, I don't like it. So I would change these given the time. Going down, boom, exploded view. I totally asked for it to do this. This was intentional. Yeah, it looks good. It looks aerospace grade to me, and like, you know, it's doing these transitions really well, like the pixel transitions. Holy crap, it's so good. And then even like, you know, let's not geek over that too much. Still not manufacturable, pretty sure. Boom, stylized image. Looks pretty cool, huh? I thought it looked pretty cool. I hope you guys think it's pretty cool. Just wanted to tap into the kind of astronaut vibe a little bit more. That was the main thing here. And then, oh, it doesn't actually explain why. So a USB-C wouldn't be able to fit into there, so that looks silly. But the idea was zero gravity, so you're gonna want to be able to have something that basically like latches on top and then like make sure when it like floats, it like stays. Everything's tethered down in a space station, so this comes with like a little notch or something up top to be able to latch it on. I would show you the other photos, but I only had like 1 hour to do this whole thing. So that's all the photos I have. Jason, what do you think? I'm curious.
Honestly, I think it's really cool. I mean, it does capture everything that the prompt told you. It was astronaut, You have the 8-bit right there. It is in fact the game controller. The orange and blue, the general vibe of it all does feel like kind of modern astronaut tech. It's not too out of this world, like it's not too Star Trek type of vibe. You still want it to be, it's astronaut, it's not space, hunter or...
Yeah, it's not like super sci-fi. It's like actually abiding by what we understand as astronaut. And like, okay, I think this turned out really good. I'm happy with this. Let me know what you guys think, what you would have done differently. If there's something that you would have done in your workflow or you'd like me to do in my workflow next time, let us know in the comments down below. We appreciate you guys sticking through this video, and we'll see you next time.
Actually, we do still have to prototype this out. That's right, so it's gonna be easy.
Okay.
So the next step, Alec, we're gonna...
What do you mean, the 1 hour's off? What do you mean?
It was 1 hour to design it, now we gotta make it come to life.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the magic.
That's not that hard. Let me just do that real quick.
So we'll go ahead and get this into prototype form.
We've got the controller printed out, and it took some liberties. There's some change in form, which is actually good. It went for something a little bit more ergonomic on the back. It's a little sharp, and it doesn't feel great in the hands, and let me show you why. When you are designing a controller, you want something to fit the natural state of your hands. Take, for example, if you were to like really loosen up your arms and then just kind of set them down like this, you want it to fit within this grip. So let me just kind of then show you what that grip is like. And you can see when I hold it here, we have a bunch of extra space here. So what ends up happening is that we're forced to put our palms in more and then our elbows tuck in. And we have this really tight, it changes your whole body just changing the shape of this controller. And there's some ways that we can alleviate that. We can kick this part out a little bit, or we can kick in this top, or we can kind of pivot along the center here. And then also these corners right here, we're gonna want to round these a little bit. So let's see. We're gonna want maybe to cut here, move that transition around over here as well. Kind of get something like this. All at the same time, we have to make sure that this, let's switch sides, that this section is being kicked out. And then we'll mirror this angle over here. It's just, we can't do it right there because that'll be really thin. We'll cut into this. Some other stuff that I noticed, think at the top here, like even these are a little bit sharp. So we're gonna want to round these a little bit as well. Because as you saw, my natural grip, when I pick this up, I tend to latch a lot around the top. And you can see there's a really sharp angle, which, we might not want. We might want it to be a little bit more like this, a little bit more natural, so it's rounded instead of this sharp angle. And I know it's gonna feel a little bit less 8-bit-like, but for a game controller, it's really unusable if you can't, have long play sessions with it. So there's priorities, and after printing this out, we've realized that there's definitely some stuff that we want to change. We're gonna go back to the drawing board. We're gonna make some edits on the sketches, and then we're gonna get some VisCom renderings, and then from there we can get a more refined and detailed version of this, and we'll see what that looks like after. Okay, Jason, you've caught me in the last of this race. We're at the very end here, and I wanna show you what I've cooked up. We did end up making these edits. We rounded off the bottom quite a bit. Actually, it ended up getting a little bit wider, it seems like, because we carved out some of this so that we could have it flare out a little bit more here. And I thought about this a little bit more ergonomically, why it makes sense. Rounded this stuff off, flared this out, made it orange up here because it felt like a little bit one-sided, like it was really visually heavy at the bottom. And so I added the translucent caps at the top for the triggers. What would I do different if I do this again? And when I do this again? I think I would spend my 1 hour a little bit more intentionally. I kind of goofed off a little bit. I was having fun with it. That time that I spent not really focusing on this, you can see that there's some ergonomic issues that we had with this initial print. And that was also due to not really fully fleshing out the image before sending it in to get the 3D model. I kind of just printed the first thing that I got, and it's this. I would want to process and get each view of it and then make sure that it understands it from every direction. I think one other thing I would want to do for next time is actually try and get this fidelity and this thought process fully fleshed out in the 1 hour. because I had a little bit of a review after with John, and we talked about the ergonomics of it. We held it. Our project manager, Blake, is here, and he looked at the controller and he says, that doesn't look ergonomic. I wouldn't want to hold that. But regardless, this is a better result than this, and I would love to be able to get this result in that 1 hour. I think as far as like a prototype goes, this is a mock-up, right? Like, I wouldn't call this a prototype. Stuff isn't color correct. There's not any moving parts. A prototype's a little bit far-fetched. I'd say mock-up is what we should shoot for if we do this again. Yeah. If I had to give this a rating out of 10, I'd give this just below a 7. I'd give it like I'm typically harsh on myself, so I'll give it a 6.8. There's a lot of room for improvement, like I talked about. I'd love to get this fidelity in that 1 hour. Let me know what you guys think. I know it feels like a gaming controller and it looks like it, but does it feel like it's for an astronaut? And does it feel 8-bit? You let me know down in the comments. And if we get a lot of views, if you guys like this, we'll do it again, and we'll roll the dice again to see what I design next time. Thanks for watching.